Hafele. I invite Mr. Tobias Hafele to the stage to make his speech. Teamgnesda Almanya CEO'su Sayın Florian Zeller. I invite Mr. Florian Zeller to the stage to make his speech. Welcome.
Merhaba, hoş geldiniz. This will be, I guess, the last things you're going to hear from me in Turkish, so thanks a lot for the translation, ladies. I really appreciate it. I used you a lot. Let me talk about a few things today. Our topic is strategic facility management. And when we talk about strategy, today what we heard a lot is how to do the things right. We heard a lot about cleaning, we heard a lot about fire protection and so on and so on. What I want to talk about now is more about the strategy and about the thinking of doing the right things, which is some kind of different approach. I want to introduce us a bit as well. This is the program to understand our approach to this topic. It's probably good to understand where we come from. So, my name is Tobias Hafele. This is Arkadaşım Florian Zeller, and we come from facility management consultancy business. So basically, it's pure consultancy. We are not cleaning, we are not catering, we are doing no technical maintenance, we are doing basically nothing physically in terms of doing something with our hands or managing teams which are doing something with their hands. So what we are doing is giving other companies consultancy and ideas how to set up their business and how to run their facility management. And I really, just to show you, we do something in very mature markets, like let's say UK, which is a very mature facility management market. But we do as well some projects in China, which is not a very mature facility management market. To understand the facility management approach of us, it's quite interesting to see as well how we see facility management. And I liked really the last speaker of the panel, who was talking about let's widen our horizon about facility management. And whenever we think about what facility management is, it's a corporate function. It's creating value. By what? It ensures availability of resources. So we try to widen this horizon already a bit. So it's not about run facilities, but it's as well providing resources. Resources could be facilities, yes, it can be square meters, it can be factory halls, it can be offices, it can be whatever your core business is. In the right amount, in the right quality, and in the right time. So, thinking about FM in our approach is everything what you cannot really outsource as a corporate is in our approach facility management. So you can outsource services, you can outsource catering, cleaning, whatever, but you cannot outsource the responsibility of providing these resources properly. So this is what we think it is. Widen the horizon of facility management as well. It's not about how to run, not only about how to run our square meters. Yes, facility managers, we have to run the square meters. We have to keep them clean. We have to keep them technically functional. We have to get people food. We have to do whatever is needed. But as well further, what we have to do is we have to provide these square meters. So the discussion here is maybe about sourcing, insourcing, outsourcing. But the discussion here is as well, do we rent our buildings? Or do we build the buildings on our own? The question is as well, what quality do our buildings have? But the question is as well further. The question, when we think about the office buildings, for instance, the question could be, what kind of office concepts are we running for our employees? Do we have single offices? Do we have open space? Do we have shared offices? Do we have desk sharing? Whatever. So there's a huge variety of questions. And so it's not about how to run the square meters, but it's as well that we provide these square meters and this space. So there is a model, there is a standard model. You know, we're from Germany as well, so I'm from Austria, from Germany. We Austrians and Germans, we really like to standardize. And we have the DIN, we have the Euronorm. I know you translate everything in your norms, in your local norms, but really, the Germans really live this. Not the Austrians, we are more from the southern part of Europe, you know, we are more like the Turkish probably, in some perspectives. But standardization, and there is a model, and the model is quite interesting. Think about this as a company, an organization. It could be, it actually doesn't matter. This company can produce cars. Or the company as well can produce finance products. The company can produce insurances, whatever. I don't care. It's just a model. And the company has some core business. And the core business, they do their strategy. And the strategy of the core business, they have questions about competition. Who's my competitor? They think about company primary targets, about stakeholders, about stakeholder expectations, blah, 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 blah. And then you have non-core business. And on a non-core business, what we basically have to do is translate the demands of the core business. And when we think about facility management, nobody thinks about it as a translation issue. Let me give you an example. Think about human resources. Human resource, in my perception, is a non-core business. Yeah. It's basically they are running stuff. Yeah, they're hiring and so on and so on. So what happens whenever the general manager of this company, let's say it's a bank, has an idea about where his company is going to go. He makes a strategy. He thinks about, yes, I need this this portfolio, I need these new products, I need this and this and this and this. And the first thing what human resource does, on a strategic level, he thinks, wow, okay, the company needs to go there. We need this amount of people with this amount of with these qualifications. We need the people. We need to develop them, or we source them. Where do we source them? Yeah? So this is a very strategic approach. No one ever, when you think about this human resource example, no one comes to a human resource and tells them, well, by the way, we made a new strategy in the company, so tomorrow we have about 25 new people coming because we hired them. There's about 50 other people we need, so we need those people, go for it. When you think about facility management, this always happens. Yeah? General managers coming, we have a new strategy, and we have 25 new people, we need 25 new places in our office. So, what we have to do as a facility managers, from a facility management perspective, is we have to push ourselves from an operational level, from this, yes, we provide services, over the technical level up to a strategic level, and be really, really fast in translating the demands of our core business. So the idea is not to be just an executive function. We do something if somebody tells us what to do, but the idea is how can we as facility managers not only react, but as well proact that our company is achieving its goals. And it's, yes, we're a support function, we're non-core, but we have huge responsibilities. Yeah? We provide square, we provide resources. I guess Florian has some ideas as well on this. I give the keys to you.
Now, thanks for explaining the model. It's always good to have models in place, to get some orientation, to get some understanding, to make things a little bit easier to understand. Now, in our work, when we do consulting service, we find companies, and we often find they're not in that status. It's not the reality. They're not working towards that model, causing a lot of difficulties and problems in the business. So what we are trying to do is helping them basically to analyze the future demands of their core business and then try to work out a strategy to deliver the right resources in the right time, as Tobias explained. We are not doing this because we are so smart or smarter than them. It's just because we have a lot of experience in doing this and having the right methodologies in supporting them to do so. Basically, they have to define their strategies, their responsibility. Anyway, it's not the reality that we face when we have the first talks with our companies. What we often see is that they are working very reactively on certain things. So they have to deal with a lot of complaints every day. They're not knowing about the expectation of their customers, and they don't have any idea how to deliver that in the right time. They're very often surprised about certain developments in various business segments they have. If you imagine big international companies, huge organizations, they're split down to local and various on-site organizations. They have no clue what they are planning to do in the next 3 or 5 years. So how do they want to develop and react on that? Very often we see that things the FM department does, like develop a space strategy, signing of lease contracts, does not actually match with the requirements of the business. So maybe they do a 15 years lease contract for a very big building, but the business unit that wants to use that only plans for 5 years. So very often that doesn't match with each other, and the consequence is that they end up having endless space and manage empty space, which is not the right thing to do from our point of view. Basically, what we try to establish in these companies is a function that truly creates value for the internal customer, for the business as such. Now, very often when we speak to them the first time, we recognize that the internal organization does not see the FM organization as truly being a partner for them. When we look at the organization chart, the FM department is somewhere in a box, maybe in purchasing or maybe in human resources. They're not even in the position to interact with the core business and to speak on the right levels. So what we have, we don't see an organization in place that could really deal with strategic plannings and strategic operations to support the core business. If you imagine a company runs through various phases in the lifetime, when they go through competition, when the market is changing, when they maybe have the wrong products on the market. It may be that they have a very good time when the market is running good, end up in a boom time, but then have to go through a recession. If we ask them, can you tell us the business plans and the expectations of your business for the next 3 or 5 years, they very often do not have an answer. So I give you an example. One of our customers in Germany, they produce trucks and buses, so it's not a very small company, it's a very big company. In their business, they didn't really regulate who is allowed to sign off lease contracts. So basically, every business unit manager was allowed to sign off lease contracts, and when they had the feeling they need more space, they did that. So they rented space somewhere in Munich, somewhere in Germany. In the times when they have enough budget, it doesn't matter so much. You don't feel that. But in times when the business is going down, the cost is killing you, and you are bound to these costs because you cannot terminate the lease contracts. It's very hard to think of a different use of these lease buildings. So what we recommended them to do is, first of all, speak to the right persons. Now, the FM manager had the big task then to go to his chief executive officer, explain the problem to him, telling him, we are losing a lot of money. If you give me a responsibility and some budgeted people, I can handle that for you. I can save X amount of euros every year. And we invented a very simple institution. We called it a challenge board. So we didn't change the overall regulation that the business unit leader can sign off a lease contract, but every time he wants to do that, he has to go through that challenge board. And in the challenge board, there was the facility manager, there was HR representatives, and the first question was, when the business unit leader tried to explain, well, I'm getting 200 more people, the first question was to HR, well, is that approved? Does he have these people next year or in 3 months? And if this question is not committed, then he couldn't sign off the lease contract. That was the first benefit. The second benefit was that the FM department did some analysis on the occupancy rates of all the areas, and then could tell them, well, if you need these additional 500 square meters somewhere, we have that already in our plan, we have that in other lease buildings. So they actively manage this resource square meters, and by that really could save a lot of money. So it's not very difficult to set up an organization that deals with strategic issues. You can do that endlessly. You can have a very big organization, but very often you can start with very small steps, and we have a lot of benefits by doing that. So very often when we talk to our customers, we see that they're not very close to their actual internal customers, so they have no communication, no exchange of where the business is going, and by this they cannot fulfill the actual requirements and the responsibility. Now, coming back to the example, if the company ends up being here in a recession and you have not managed your resources accordingly, you're not creating value for your company. Another example for that would be in the years 2008, 2009, big recession, also in Germany with the financial crisis. A lot of our customers didn't think of considering a change of business in their contracts with their service providers. So they didn't think about creating several levels of service level agreements, allowing them to switch the amount of services they receive and the quality of services to receive. If we talk about maintenance, for example, they didn't specify, okay, what is actually needed in terms to fulfill all legal requirements, what is needed to maintain the equipment up to a certain status, and what is needed maybe for important equipment really to achieve a certain availability. Now, they had a certain standard fixed that should work for the next 5 years, and in the middle of the contract time, the whole situation changed and the requirement changed. Of course, you can start to sit down with your service provider and start the negotiation of the contract, but that will not lead to a very good result from our point of view. So what we implemented then is having a standard tender document, and I recognize that this is also a big discussion in Turkey at the moment. So we created a standard document that would allow the definition of various service levels, detailing also the results that need to be achieved for each service level, and we have a price for that service level for every piece of equipment or every area to be cleaned. And by this, you can easily switch service level. You can easily, during the runtime of a contract, adjust the amount of services you need to the requirement that you have. It's a strategic element in doing business, but somebody needs to take care of, and somebody needs to implement that as well. So what is a bit of a guideline or a bit of a recommendation that we have with us so that we also give you something, some input for you. The first thing that we always recommend is you need to develop your FM organization up to a strategic level to really be able to fulfill these requirements. You have to be not somewhere in a box down with human resources or purchasing. Ideally, you should talk to management level in your company. You should have also the responsibility to manage these resources on behalf of your company, and you have to have the right team on it. Now, this is a process that can take up to 5 or 10 years, depending on the size of the company and the scope of facility management they see within this organization. But it's worthwhile starting doing that. The analysis of the business requirements of the company business plans is an essential issue for that. You need to have institutions in place and processes in place to exchange that, and from there to derive your business strategy for facility management. You have to clearly define the interfaces in between the various departments. And you need to have, of course, steering processes from a strategic level down to a tactical level and down to an operational level to bring down the performance on the ground. And last but not least, you have to create standards. So if you want an operational level to work and to fill your business strategy, you have to supply them with various standards. Maybe that you have a space standard, equipment and installation standards, or standards for construction fit-out. It saves time, it saves money if you put work and ideas into such standardization processes for your business. We talked a lot about practical examples already. We have in our presentations also two references or case studies that we want to show you. By the way, if you want to have these presentations at the end of the day, also in Turkish, maybe you can approach us after the presentation, leave your business card, and then we will translate it and supply it to you if you like. Now, another reference for a strategic project, it's a steel company in Austria. Now, it's a very big site, and every production process was set up as an own business unit, and within that own business unit, they defined and organized facility management on their own. So there was no standard within that company doing facility management, and they very interpreted the responsibility and the tasks of facility management very differently, which led to a series of problems, and the CEO got attention of that and then asked, okay, can you deliver a strategy for me to harmonize that and to gain some benefits? And the first things was, what we did is to analyze, okay, what are the expectations, what are the business requirements, and together with the local teams we worked out an organization that first of all works in line with the standard definition of facility management, does the budgeting correctly, does the maintenance correctly, ensures that the production processes are not disturbed. And the main benefit of that organization was that they directly reported them to a line next to the CEO to get attention if the business unit managers do not fulfill the maintenance requirements according to that strategy. By this, a lot of money could be changed, by this, a lot of operational security could be achieved. And in the second phase, we're still working on that. We try to create a central department for facility management to take out the responsibility in the various business units. The other reference would be space management.
Yes.
Reference.
This is something we did a few years ago for an Austrian petrol company. And yeah, this is as well facility management. We're not talking about now cleaning or something like this. We're talking about this changing the approach of this company towards the real estate. So what they had was 5 sites. Yeah, they were spread all over the city. They owned 2 sites. They were leasing 2 sites with different run terms and so on and so on. So facility manager, whenever there was CEO at this time said, I want to have 1 building for all my people. So what's the translation for this? Yeah, let's build a building or let's rent something. Interesting thing was he had 5 buildings with different lease expire times. He had 5 different buildings with totally not equalized standards. 5 different buildings with total different service levels in maintaining everything. So, as a facility manager in those kind of projects, what you do first is it's a standardization project. You try to equalize everything what you have regarding lease contracts, regarding service contracts, providers, and so on and so on. Because otherwise, if you're not doing this and you run into this, we move the whole building into one, we move 5 buildings into 1 building, you run into a situation that your business case is not valid. It does just not work because you cannot easily quit a lease contract. You cannot easily change your service provider. This just needs some time and some planning. So, in general, yes, we moved to 1 building at the end of the day. This kind of project, I think it was 2.5 years altogether. And on the same time, what we did during those 2.5 years is as well reorganize the whole facility management department, because it's a total difference if you have to run one huge building for 2,500 people or 5 small buildings with about 400 to 600 people. So in general, as a conclusion of this, what you in a corporate, as a corporate real estate manager, as a facility manager have to do is somehow get in the right position to be clear about what's happening in a company. So starting, you come from a very reactive point and you have to go to a proactive point. So you come from, yes, we provide the space, but as well we can provide the space differently, that it suits better to whatever your core business needs. And this is the interesting thing, and this is what the speaker in the panels meant when they talked about widening the horizon and as well changing the approach of facility management. Okay, çok teşekkür ederim.
Thank you, Mr. Tobias Hafele. Thank you, Mr. Florian Zeller. Şimdi Sayın Tobias Hafele ve Sayın Florian Zeller'in plaketlerini vermek üzere Tesis Yönetim Derneği Disiplin Kurulu üyesi Sayın Bora Koçak'ı davet ediyorum. May you please stay on the stage. Mr. Tobias Hafele. Mr. Florian Zeller.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.